These are the 5 key points from the motion hearing for Dylan Deschaine's murder trial of Mike Ledford that I think that the prosecution and the defense are going to try and use in their general trial. First, a little bit of background. Dylan Deschaine is accused of murdering Mike Ledford back in February of 2024. If you want the full narrative and who said what when, there's a lot to that. And so we've put up multiple stories on our website, midbaynews.com, as well as other videos on our social media, so check those out there if you need more information. First things first, here's what I think Dylan Deschaine's defense team is going to use in terms of arguments in order to verify a stand your ground claim, or if this thing goes to trial without that, defend him in court. Argument number 1 they're going to use is Mike Ledford's mental state at the time of the fracas, the fight. According to the District 1 medical examiner who did the autopsy on Ledford, Ledford had 0.087 back or blood alcohol content that makes him legally intoxicated at the time of the attack. The second piece of this is that he also had 200 milligrams of dextroamphetamine in his blood. It was a drug that was assigned to him, but gives him energy, or would have given him energy, and also could have made him irritable. There's a bunch of side effects, but the thing you need to know is one's a stimulant and one's a depressant, and that means that when they mix, crazy things can happen. At least that's what the medical community has found in multiple studies on the subject. Deschaine's attorney, Michael Weinstock, alluded to this fact in his questioning of the medical examiner and talked a whole lot to that medical examiner about whether or not this stuff mixed together would mess with his head. The medical examiner said, hey, I'm not a toxicologist. This is outside of my scope of practice, so I'm not going to answer these questions, so we don't have exact answers to these questions, but just something to note for the future. The second thing it sounds like Weinstock, Deschaine's attorney, is probably going to use in Deschaine's defense, especially if he can use a stand your ground defense, were the attacks that were seen on camera by Ledford on Deschaine. You can see those videos on our YouTube channel, but the long and the short of it is that Mike Ledford did attack Dylan Deschaine right outside of the Paradise Liquors. It's on the inside camera of the Paradise Liquors. You can see him walk from the counter and throttle him. This is something else that Michael Weinstock also brought up in the hearing for Stand Your Ground. His basic argument is that Ledford attacked this Deschaine twice, and why wouldn't he do it a third time and possibly kill him? All right, so we've covered what the defense is likely going to say in a trial. Let's talk a little bit about what we gleaned from the prosecution and their line of thinking in this case going forward. So first things first, immediately after this fight took place, Deschaine ran away from the scene of the crime. The prosecution is, at least in their line of questioning, the way that they talked about this with various witnesses, has made it seem like they're going to use this as evidence that he felt guilt and wasn't afraid for his life. Being afraid for your life or imminent fear of danger is one of the 4 tests or prongs in a self-defense stand your ground case that you would have to prove. The second thing that it sounds like the prosecution is going to argue is that he allegedly bragged to his cellmates about killing Mike Ledford in his cell after the attack, once he had been arrested and incarcerated in the Okaloosa County Jail. During the motion hearing, the prosecution talked to Kendall Schumacher, a former cellmate of Dylan Deschaine. Schumacher testified where to find the knife that allegedly was used to kill Mike Ledford after it had been hidden. Police detectives followed up on this tip from Schumacher and actually found this knife. Schumacher also talked about what Deschaine said to him about this whole attack. He said that he had bragged about it and found joy in it, never talked about a gun being there or feeling like he was in imminent harm. This, of course, is the testimony of Schumacher, so we got to be careful with this and kind of outline it as such. Like, I'm not saying that, this guy is. Finally, and probably the piece of evidence that is going to make the crux of the prosecution's argument, Jonathan DeMastri is a witness to this. He was brought up on the stand during the motion hearing and had a pretty contentious debate with Michael Weinstock, the defense attorney for Dylan Deschaine, and said that Dylan Deschaine started this final fight. He alleges that Deschaine jumped on the back of Ledford and stabbed him, or cut him, I guess is the technical medical term for it, after Ledford had turned away. So these may not be the final arguments in this case that the attorneys are going to use. I don't know. But based on the motion hearing, these are the arguments that they asked about the most, or the things they talked about the most. And so I think they're a pretty good indicator that the attorneys are at least thinking about them. So this is what we know right now. The next hearing or pretrial conference is scheduled for the 16th. That's before that we're going to actually find out whether or not stand your ground is going to be on the table. Judge Oberleisen is going to make a determination on that here in the next couple of weeks. So that's what I know about this whole thing right now, and we'll find out more as we get it, and I will bring it to you here on Mid-Bay News. And while you're here on Mid-Bay News or watching it, give us a like or a review. It helps people find our channel, helps people find what we're talking about, and get local content to people here in the Northwest Florida area. So I would be super appreciative if you did that. And if not, well, fine, don't. MidbayNews.com.